What's up, everybody? Pipo again, and today's Method Monday is going to be about something that is usually overlooked and misunderstood in the way of traditional pockets. It's pretty well understood with mesh pockets, and that is sidewall installation. Now, I've done a video about sidewalls for a rocket pocket before, and I didn't really go into any details about that because it was just a tutorial. But today it's going to be just a general talk about how to do your sidewalls for a traditional of any type. It doesn't really matter. This is just general knowledge so that you guys can understand whenever you're about to string up a head. And again, this comes down to patience, guys. I'm always reiterating that, just saying it over and over again, because if you try and rush a traditional pocket, you're just going to get something that you hate and that you're going to cut out, and then you just wasted roughly $10 worth of material, depending on what you got and what you used. Roughly $10 worth of material or more on a pocket that you really were hoping that was going to be good. So we're going to get right into it. This is a torque, or just an original torque. It is I believe a red one. It's kind of faded in color, but it is a red torque, and this is a pretty good demonstration of how just a general classic traditional sidewall is going to be, where when you actually set it up, and this can be flip-flopped, whatever you want, depending on which side you start on. I tend to start on, if you're looking at the face of the head, at the back towards you. If I'm looking at the face of the head, I have my starting side the right side. But if it's facing away from me, I guess you could say it's the left side. But so I usually do it on this side. The front's facing you guys now. I usually start on this side for a classic traditional or any type of traditional that requires an asymmetrical start point. And so for this one, I tend to leave one of the top two holes empty, nothing in it. For this torque, I'm doing a 6-shooter, so I had to adjust for that, because for a 6-shooter you have to have another runner or whatever come down from there, and I usually use that very top sidewall hole. So that's something to consider when you're actually doing a sidewall installation for your traditional. What is your plan for the rest of the pocket? You have to take that into consideration. There's a lot to think about when you're doing a traditional. It seems like a lot, but once you start doing it a whole bunch, it just comes naturally, and you just go through it like it's nothing. But when you try and break it down like I am for you guys, it seems like a lot, but it's really not. But so, depending on what kind of asymmetrical you're trying to do, you adjust and have one of these top sidewall holes empty. You leave it empty. You don't put any strings through it. You then go down to the next possible one. So for this one, I skipped a hole and went down to this next one, started my sidewall, and then I'm going to be making it a 6 diamond. So this comes into play with casting points or your loops or whatever you want to call it. This is what comes into play, is how many of these loops that you're going to make, and that's how you determine how many diamonds that your asymmetrical pocket is going to have. It also kind of helps with your symmetrical ones, and I mean, with the sidewalls, with a symmetrical pocket like a Peter or anything like that, your sidewalls aren't going to really matter or anything like that until you start doing the pocket. You don't, for most symmetrical pockets, you're not going to have your sidewalls permanently that way. It's going to be, you do in general, this is how it's done. You do your center first, you do your most center outers, and then you punch out the pocket or you push out the pocket, whatever you're doing, break it in just a little bit, and then you do those farthest out ones, outside tracks, and then that's when you actually adjust and put your sidewall loops where they need to go. But so for an asymmetrical, for the 6 diamond one, I just skipped holes, these sidewall holes, and did singles, and then I left, for this torque, I left this bottom hole, this bottom sidewall hole, open, because that's where the the six runners are going to be going through. So the very top and then the very bottom are open. And then, so that's my set piece. That's where all my casting points are going to be. That's how I'm going to determine my spacing for my leathers. And that's when it comes in and you're going to have your spacing. You're going to do all your knots and everything like that when you're going through the pocket. Okay? And so you can actually see here that these casting points create exactly where these knots and diamonds are going to be started from. So as you can see, these interlocks that are coming around the sidewall, they're a little bit lower or mid in these sections of the sidewall. So take that, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind, okay? If it's going to be asymmetrical, whatever you put on your starting side, the opposing side is going to actually shift up slightly. So here is my optic, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So because this first interlock is just above the holes in the leather, this first interlock is there. The one that's adjacent from it, so you skip that leather because it's asymmetrical. You go to this one, and it's pretty much in line, if not very close to it because of the leathers and the shape of the pocket. And then the very far side over here, that last interlock that's going down in this track, this outer track, is going to have to try and be in line with these up here. So it's going to be a little bit higher than this first outer one on this side. Kind of, I mean, it would make sense, but a lot of people just kind of leave that out. So this brings us into the next part, where with your sidewall, on the opposing side, on the finishing side of an asymmetrical pocket, you have to have the string actually shifted up about one set of holes. So when I'm saying one set of holes, I actually mean this is the ending side. So my ending side, actually I shifted up. So starting side, I started on technically the third sidewall hole. Okay, the big one and the little one started on this third one. Now since it's going to be asymmetrical, I have to shift up this opposing side to accommodate that shift in the interlocks that are going to be going through the pocket. Now with that said, it actually is going to be a little bit hard and a little different depending on how many diamonds you do. The bigger the diamonds, so if you're going to do like a 5 or a 6 diamond trad, which is pretty much the biggest you can do with a very functional pocket, that's going to make it so that you definitely have to have that shift because there's just so much space in between those interlocks. So with my 60 here in my optic, I definitely had to do that. When you come to say a 7 or an 8 diamond trad, like in my Thompson, which should be a 7 diamond trad, yep, 7 diamond trad, the smaller the diamonds with the casting points, you can actually make them symmetrical. Your casting points can be symmetrical on each side because there's just so much space in between the interlocks that they stay within that spacing of the casting points. With a 5 and a 6, it's going to be rougher and a little harder to try and keep that symmetrical working like that. So what you do is you shift it. You shift it up. So instead of this third hole, I shifted up to the second hole, and then I did the same thing. I skipped a sidewall hole. You can hear the rain. It's raining today. You can skip that hole as you go down. Same exact pattern, same exact number of skips and everything on this side as the starting side. Just shifted up one hole, and then come down here. And since I'm going to have my ending point over here, I have my 2 bottom holes open. Now there's a lot of different ways to end your traditionals. I like to try and end it through the plastic. It keeps it so that it doesn't, that more string than you need to go back into the pocket when it's breaking in. And so a lot of people I know like to actually end in the leathers. I don't really like that process because if the leather breaks, then the whole pocket falls apart, and then you have to adjust a whole bunch of strings. And I mean, it looks good. Some people do it the right way, and it lasts. It doesn't break or anything like that. but I like to go through the plastic just because it's a little bit more consistent. You can duplicate it in the same exact head if you do the sidewall just like that, and you have your leathers the same depth whenever you're stringing it, stuff like that. But so these bottom holes are going to be open because my 6-shooter that I'm going to be putting in this 6-shooter, that very bottom one is going to be my runner. It's going to have the runner go through it. And then my cross lace, since I like to do single string classics, goes all the way through, snakes all the way through, and then it ends in that second to last hole. So it just kind of makes sense, and it's just something to think about, guys. There's a lot of misconstrued ideas that you can do something with a sidewall the same way that you can with a mesh when it comes to a trad, and it's not true. There's a lot of people out there that like to show that there is a symmetric, you can always do it symmetrically, and you can't. And then you have your pocket is, your actual leathers and everything are kind of mismatched, and then your interlocks don't line up when you try and look at it. Like, mine aren't perfect, but they're close enough to where it doesn't affect the pocket's performance. If you don't pay attention to your sidewalls, you don't pay attention to everything else that I've gone over so far, you don't pay attention to all of it, the pocket's going to look kind of like that. Like, the one side's going to go up, the one side's going to go down. And, I mean, who wants that? Who wants that? I mean, it's not going to, if you know what you're doing, you can fix that. But people just string it up and they're like, oh, look at this, and it doesn't look good. I mean, I've kind of touched everything when it comes to sidewalls for a trad, and when you actually do a symmetrical one, guys, don't cut your strings. Put your string through. This is what I like to do. I like to leave my strings fully intact until I'm completely done. Until I'm completely done stringing the head, I leave my sidewall, my shooters, everything intact. And then once I feel that the pocket's done, I cut everything. Once I feel that the sidewalls are done, in the right position, sometimes I have to go back, take them out. The leathers, everything like that. I don't clip anything until I'm absolutely done. That way that I get it as close to perfect as I can before I get rid of something that I might need later. So it's another thing to think about, guys, when you're doing a traditional. There's a lot that goes into a traditional, and the faster you understand that and appreciate that fact, the better off you're going to be stringing and actually keeping that pocket intact for a longer period of time. And I just hope that this actually helps you. And just a little teaser, I'm at this box right here is gonna be for something pretty big that's happening in the early spring before the spring season starts here in Maryland. And I mean, I'm gonna be hinting at it a lot in my Instagram videos and pictures and everything. So if you don't follow me there, go find me, Spawn of Peepo, on Instagram, and you'll be able to see a lot of the updates that are going on with that. And I hope you guys enjoy that, because it's for you guys. I'm gonna start calling you guys, anybody that pays attention, listens, whatever, even if you don't buy anything that is mine or have me string anything, you guys are now part of the horde, Spawn of Peepo's horde. I don't know if you guys follow anything or whatever and know what a horde is. It's just a huge group of people or creatures or anything, really, that aren't uniform. They're not the same. They're just a big group with the same objective, the same goal. And so they come together as basically a riot, as a big crowd. And that's what I feel that we are as a lacrosse community. We aren't a nation. We aren't a community. We aren't an army or anything like that. I'm not doing it to knock anybody, but I'm doing it because that's how I see it. I don't see us as a uniform group just because we wear uniforms on the field. Everybody's stick is different. Everybody is different. That's the beauty of this sport. That's the beauty of the traditional. That's the beauty of mesh pockets. Everybody can do everything differently. So thanks for understanding that if you do, because now you guys are part of the horde. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you got something out of this video. If you didn't, go find another video from somebody else. they hit up the stuff that I do. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video. I'll catch you guys later.